We all have preferences. We have preferences in our music. We have preferences in our clothes, food. We also have preferences in learning. Learning styles is a preference or how we take in new information. It's important to understand what learning styles can do and what it can't do. What it can do is let you know what your preferences are. What it can't do is tell you the only way you can learn, because although we have preferences, we also have a wide variety of ways we learn. Before we look at learning styles, let's talk about multiple intelligences. Multiple intelligence is a theory of the giftings or abilities we have based in a series of different intelligence, meaning that we may have multiples of these, and some people will have more ability in one than the other. The multiple intelligence are logical, mathematical, spatial, linguistic, kinesthetic, musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalistic. If we look at most of what has been evaluated through your lives up to college, it's really the first three: logical, mathematical, spatial, and linguistic. If we think about a standardized test, they're usually going to be based on some type of arithmetic. There's going to be some type of geometry, spatial, and then of course there's going to be linguistic or verbal. So if we look at it, this is really where most of the evaluation and the assessment up to this point has been. But moving forward, all of these become important. Since all of these become important, certain things will happen. Certain students that have excelled from K-12 will all of a sudden start to struggle. And some students who have never excelled will start to auto-accelerate as they start to be able to utilize some of these skills. Because of these different intelligences, we can look at learning styles as a way to overcome our weaknesses. Again, remember, the fact that you don't have a certain skill doesn't mean that you cannot acquire it. So there's a few models of learning styles. The first one we'll talk about is VARK. VARK is the acronym for visual, audio, reading, writing, and kinesthetic. If you think about these preferences, it makes sense, right? Visual, I like to input new data visually. Audio, I want to hear new information. Reading and writing, leave me alone, let me read it, let me write it. And then kinesthetic, I'd rather be moving around and drawing or kinesthetically intaking that information. Again, these are learning styles that are preferences. You can take assessments to figure out what your learning styles are. You're not isolated just one. In my case, I'm audio and kinesthetic. But over time, I have built up my reading, writing, and my visual so that I have all four learning preferences to me. Naturally, I have two, but I've worked on developing those other skills. Another learning style model is the Solomon and Felder model. In this model, we're looking at spectrums. The four spectrums are active to reflective, sensing to intuitive, visual to verbal, and sequential to global. Again, these are preferences of how you take in information. And if we look at these, they're just a different way of looking at your preferences. A global person would want to see the big picture, but the big picture alone will not get you to the details that is probably needed for success in the course. Reversely, a student may need a sequential order to learn the information, but they still need to understand the global perspective to do well in the course. When we look at learning styles, it is helpful for you to know yours. There's websites out there where you can go and evaluate and know your learning style. But it's important to remember that it's just a preference. It's also very important to understand that certain disciplines match with certain learning styles. The way that you are learning information in, let's say, a history class may match your learning styles preferences perfectly. But you also have to take your biology class. It may need to utilize a slightly different style. You can do this. You can do this by understanding that, I don't want to read and write, I'd rather visualize. And taking that textbook and visualizing it into something like a concept map, into a graphical representation. So what you can do is, one, always work on expanding how you learn, but also remember where your style is and see if there's a way you can take that information that is coming from that course, from that discipline, and modify it to match. Have somebody read you the notes. Turn them into a dance. Whatever it takes to make sure you learn the content. Learning styles can be an important understanding for you to maximize your learning, to enhance your success in college.